everyone, welcome back after a long summer break, and a special welcome to our guest of today, Andreas von Brandt, the ambassador of the European Union to Afghanistan, who is currently in Brussels. Ambassador, you were on the ground during the fall of Kabul. Give us your impressions as a first-hand witness.
Very dramatic moments. The EU delegation was prepared. We had all our expat staff already out, but we were mainly concerned about our Afghan staff. So when the 15th of August, the Taliban coming to Kabul happened, there was a moment of mayhem, but finally we got to the airport, and there the crucial task for all of us was to bring the people in on the airfield, and that was so difficult. But finally we managed to bring out all our local staff.
What has the work of you and your team consisted of in the past 2 weeks?
So we were mainly setting up a makeshift delegation presence with 3 people and later on 8 people to bring the Afghans that were queuing outside the airport into the airport. And that, of course, was not easy, on some days impossible. And we had to negotiate with the Americans, with other member states, but also with the Taliban outside in order to bring those that had a legitimate reason to leave into the airport and then fly them out.
And what can the EU's role be in this new Afghan paradigm?
We have to see. I mean, the High Representative has made very clear after the recent informal foreign ministers meeting that there are 5 criteria that the Taliban would have to abide by if they want to get into business with us. There is human rights, there is the agreeing the departure of those that still want to leave, fighting against international terrorism. And so we will stick to what we have been saying all along, you know, a principled approach that focuses on democracy, pluralism, human rights, that we have made clear to the Taliban all these months and years, and we will not change.
Many observers say the Taliban have learned a lesson and are now planning on welcoming technocrats of the Ghani administration into their government. Do you believe this?
No, I don't, because they have just announced their government, and this government is not inclusive, and it is a government of basically Taliban only. And if you ask me, have the Taliban changed? I think ideologically, religiously, they may not have changed. Certain approaches to modernity may have changed. So the acceptance of cell phones and all of that, but that's not enough. It's not enough to us. And I think if they want our humanitarian assistance, even our development assistance at some point, more has to change. And we all, the international community, has to make sure that we push and that we influence the Taliban in the right way.
After the withdrawal unilaterally decided in Washington, how tarnished is the credibility of the US as an ally to Europe?
First of all, it was also a NATO decision. I agree with you that a lot of the surprises came from Washington, and I was not convinced of the US Taliban deal. I was very much convinced of the idea to end a 20-year-long war, or if you want, even a 40-year-long crisis in Afghanistan. But a lot of mistakes were made in the implementation of this process. I wouldn't even call it a peace process because it never reached the level of a peace process, and then eventually in the withdrawal. So having said that, we have to work, and we have to work what we have. We have to look into the future. So I think we have still a lot of levers left, even though they're not military, but we have our development assistance, financial assistance. We have the whole idea of the recognition and the Taliban craze for international recognition and for the exposure to the outside world.
Are Russia and China filling the power vacuum in Afghanistan now?
On the one hand, it's too early to tell. On the other hand, those countries have never provided what the country needs most, which is economic assistance, financial assistance. And given that dramatic situation, I think even the Taliban will revert to the European Union and to European nations.
And finally, is the West finished?
The West is not finished. I mean, first of all, if you look at other difficult moments in history where the end of the West was predicted, it has never happened. And I would also say that a lot of other non-Western countries are losing at the moment, and it's not easily a zero-sum game, you know. Only because NATO or the EU have now withdrawn, it doesn't mean necessarily that others will gain. I think it will be a collective effort, and the region will play a very important role, and we all have to work towards let's say an acceptable future for Afghanistan and the region.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Herzlichen Dank, and thank you all for listening. See you next week with another surprise guest.